Well, joining us now via Skype video is Mr. Darren Walker. He's the CEO of a company called Building Economic Advancement Networks, otherwise known as BEAN. Darren, welcome back to the program.
Oh, thank you for having me, Don. Glad to be here.
Well, now, of course, you're a portfolio company of Digital Asset Monetary Network, DATI, but BEAN is a social network centered on economic advancement for urban communities. Tell us about BEAN.
Hey, Don. So, yeah, BEAN, like you said, is a social network centered around economic advancement. And so all the bells and whistles that one would come to imagine with social networking, from video posts and messaging features, yet it has a strong economic thrust, so that it's not just some of the, and we're okay with having a good time, right? We all want to have a lot of fun, but we want to make sure that we utilize this platform in a way that can be edifying to our community and for those who participate with the platform.
Well, I found this statistic at your website staggering. African Americans contribute $1.2 trillion to the U.S. GDP, but that economic power is not finding its way to the African American communities. Can you explain that?
Yeah, and it's so unfortunate, as a result, as you mentioned, African Americans, if we were a country, would have the 16th largest buying power in the world. And so just so many of those dollars are not getting back to African American entrepreneurs and enterprises. And I don't think it's because the African American community doesn't want to patronize Black businesses. I think that oftentimes, if you're not careful, sometimes we're not clear on the impact that our dollars not circulating longer in our community is actually having. And so when you start talking about wealth preservation or economic advancement without really doing a dive into those numbers, I think people live their lives day to day not really realizing that as a result of those dollars not circulating in our communities longer, they're not seeing the adverse negative impact that's having. And so BEAN seeks to change that. BEAN wants to provide a clear pathway to change those statistics.
Well, this is something that certainly needs changing. How can BEAN affect that change?
Yeah, so BEAN can affect that change because BEAN provides a clear pathway to find these businesses and these entrepreneurs, these enterprises that are within our community and that are good for our community. And so, BEAN, our sort of operating philosophy is we believe what is recognized and rewarded is often repeated. So we wanted to create a platform that would recognize those individuals, those users that are patronizing businesses within our community. And so, we want to reward them for that healthy behavior, for that positive behavior. So within our platform, we have things that when money is spent or money is invested within the BEAN network, those are the type of posts that show up on the activity feed. And BEAN, the corporation, especially as we're launching, is rewarding that behavior with BEAN coin tokens, which essentially leverages the blockchain technology. And so we're wanting to incentivize that behavior because we know that if we can get people to begin to just 2%, our whole goal is to get our community to normative levels, not to exceed what any other ethnic group or racial group is doing in the country or around the world, but just close to normal levels. And at 2%, we're talking about $26 billion being redistributed back into the African American community.
Well, as I mentioned at the top of the interview, you're a portfolio company, the Digital Asset Monetary Network, and you have an offering at truecrowd.com. Can you tell us about the opportunity?
Yes. So my offering is on TrueCrowd. I'm not actually a company for digital, but in terms of TrueCrowd is with digital, and I'm under the TrueCrowd umbrella. And so essentially, the offering right now is that because of the Jobs Act, everyday investors can now participate, in startup companies, equity opportunities. Whereas before the Jobs Act passed in 2008, opportunities to invest in startup companies were only limited to accredited investors. So these are people who have $1 million net worth or who earn more than $200,000 a year in income. These opportunities would have been preserved essentially for them. Well, now the Jobs Act opens this opportunity up for everyone, essentially accredited and unaccredited alike, to be able to invest just a small amount of money, starting at $250 and going all the way up, to $107,000 per person. But essentially what happens is that they are now able to get a hold of, the startups that impact the world before they become popular or famous or things like that. And so that's what Bean is offering right now, is that we're selling 17% of our company, which received about a $5 million pre-money valuation. And so that stock is available now. And we believe that Bean is going to make a big impact, not just in the United States, but throughout the diaspora. And so investors today, people today, have the opportunity to make a small investment that could have an enormous impact on their financial future.
The company is Bean, of course, and we've been talking with its CEO, Darren Walker. Check out their offering at truecrowd.com. Exciting company. Darren, thanks so much for sharing it with us.
Yes, thank you for having me.